Nobody
Who
wants
wants
that.
a movie about true love? What kind of woman do we want out there seeking true love, Eliana? The outrage.
You know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There is a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird.
She's not going to be safe with a prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love.
Oh my God.
And she came out and she said, I apologize. Like, I went too far. But it wasn't sincere.
Hardcore.
They're petrified of some kind of backlash.
I wanted my money back. It was very disappointing.
Megyn Kelly is on the warpath, folks, and Rachel Zegler is right in her crosshairs. In a twist no one saw coming, the outspoken actress allegedly got the boot from Disney, and her fiery response has set off a nuclear chain reaction throughout Hollywood. If that wasn't enough to shake things up, the Snow White reboot just suffered the most catastrophic box office disaster we've seen in years, and the blame game is in full swing.
Every way that Disney changed the story, it changed it for the worse.
They are pretending like Rachel Zegler is the first of them all when she looks like Lord Farquaad in the film.
The new Disney boss babe, who is Rachel Zegler, the inverse of happy.
So she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
Rachel Zegler, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution.
Now, I'm guessing that she's not married. I'm guessing that she doesn't have kids. The movie is a complete disaster, by the way.
Have they ever thought about maybe like a little bit of like, I don't know, vulnerability study, opposition research, that sort of thing, before you go and hire some Zoomer who's a lunatic?
So apparently, according to them and according to the writers of Snow White, women can't even want to be in love anymore.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
They spent $170 million to make the thing, and it had the lowest opening, under $50 million, of any of these live-action Disney remakes that they've ever had.
And, you know the saying, go woke, get broke, and Disney's going to lose money on this movie, and I believe it only made less than $1 million.
People are pointing fingers. Alliances are shifting, and the Hollywood rumor mill is on overdrive. This entire fiasco has exploded from a simmering controversy into an all-out war. Zegler's not holding back, Megyn Kelly is doubling down, and fans are left clutching their popcorn, wondering how an iconic fairy tale turned into a real-life horror show. The rumor is allegedly happening.
Large dump on half of the country, everyone who voted for Trump.
But you are not entitled to call for Trump supporters to be harmed. Like, you are actually not entitled to do that. And so let me just remind you, Rachel Zegler, of what the map looks like, just so you can understand when your Disney movie is coming out, how many people you are wishing harm upon. Like, this is America right now. I will love you through these 4 years as best I can. F Donald Trump. Yeah, totally stable thing for her to be posting, wishing harm upon Trump voters, wishing that we have no peace.
President Rachel Zegler also posted, F Trump kinds of posts on social media. She also said that she hoped that Trump supporters, quote, never know peace.
And they postponed the release of this thing, Ben, for a year because their star, Rachel Zegler, was so unlikable, told all Trump supporters that they could off, but she did. That was just in November. They didn't even know she was going to do that one.
Rachel Zegler, the shining star once poised to lead the next generation of Disney heroines, is out, cut off, and raging about it. And Megyn Kelly, she's practically popping veins in her forehead, unleashing pointed accusations, slamming Zegler's outrage, and calling out Disney for letting things spiral. It's brutal, it's dramatic, and it's feeding a media circus like no other. People are tuning in.
The movie is doing catastrophically. They spent $300 million, and it currently has a 2.2 out of 10 rating on IMDb.
The movie has a major identity crisis.
This is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
It's got extra musical numbers that are incredibly unnecessary that really add to that runtime. And let me go ahead and let you know that they're absolutely atrocious.
Disney deleted Someday My Prince Will Come and made a modernized feminist alternative.
I sat through the whole thing. This was really bad. It was extremely leftist on every political dimension: racial politics, sexual politics, class politics, regime politics. Its narrative was cowardly. It was just awful.
They say all you have to do to make your wish come true is let it echo, 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 echo.
It's awful, generic. Never mind that the lyrics make no sense at all. All you have to do to make your dream come true is let it echo. Is it like on a metaphorical level?
Wide-eyed, just to watch the next fiery blow. So buckle up, because the meltdown is only heating up. The moment news broke that Disney had reportedly fired Rachel Zegler, onlookers were floored. This actress was supposed to embody the modern Disney spirit, smart, talented, a breath of fresh air for a timeless fairy tale. Yet the official line from certain insiders suggests Disney was fed up with her unfiltered remarks. Allegedly, she'd been clashing with the studio over outdated Disney values, fueling tensions behind closed doors. Cue the pink slip. A swift, shocking action that basically yanked the crown off the new princess. It didn't help that the Snow White reboot, once touted as a cinematic revolution, suffered a humiliating drop at the box office last week. Some are labeling it the biggest flop in Disney's recent history. Coincidence? Fans don't think so. People are loudly speculating that Disney pinned the fiasco squarely on Zegler, desperate to prove they're doing something to calm restless investors. Of course, Rachel Zegler was never one to keep quiet. Her angry reaction hit social media like a sledgehammer, condemning the studio for undermining her creative ideas and letting the film crumble. But that wasn't the whole story. Megyn Kelly wasted zero time grabbing her microphone. If there's one thing Megyn Kelly is known for, it's pouncing on controversy and ripping it wide open. She took to her platform, calling Zegler's tantrum self-indulgent, blasting Disney for indulging what she labeled a woke meltdown. In Kelly's words, Zegler's attitude was the real cause of the film's downfall. She doubled down, claiming that every negative fan review, every unimpressed moviegoer had turned away because of Zegler's modernized, borderline dismissive take on the classic source material. Kelly wasn't just upset with Zegler's supposed narcissism, she was furious that Disney let the entire project slip into chaos. Her pointed accusations were relentless, dropping bombs like, "This is what happens when you hire people who hate tradition." Yikes. The confrontation grew uglier by the second, and the public ate it up. Kelly's supporters were cheering, while Zegler's fans lashed out at the pundit, calling her commentary inflammatory and out of line. And what happened next would shock everyone. As the dust settled, newly leaked box office receipts surfaced, revealing Snow White had stumbled so badly on its opening weekend that analysts called it a cinematic faceplant. The film was drowned out by competing releases, overshadowed by scathing reviews, and hammered online by outraged fans who felt the final product was nothing like the enchanting original. It was a recipe for disaster, each negative factor compounding, until the losses were too big to hide. Rachel Zegler, for her part, looked like the scapegoat. Sources from inside Disney, allegedly speaking off the record, whispered that the higher-ups blamed her relentless push for changes to the storyline, changes that alienated the core family audience. The meltdown among executives was rumored to be epic. Frantic conference calls, panicked marketing pushes, and then a final dramatic decision to cut ties with Zegler and shift the blame. It was the kind of behind-the-scenes chaos that typically stays hidden. But this time, everything was on display for the world to see. But once again, there was more lurking behind the curtain. Enter the swirling rumors of a massive internal tug of war. Word on the street suggests Disney's top creatives clashed bitterly with Zegler over the film's direction. She supposedly wanted a modern retelling that tackled modern themes, while traditionalists in the studio insisted on preserving at least some of the classic magic. Tension reached a boiling point. People started taking sides, either championing Zegler's fresh perspective or denouncing her approach as a betrayal of Disney's beloved legacy. Then came the disastrous test screenings. Audiences didn't love the heavy-handed changes. Psiak the Mami's feedback rattled Disney's suits, intensifying pressure on Zegler to dial down her bold creative input. She refused, doubling down on her beliefs, and friction escalated into outright hostility. The result? A production so marred by conflict that by the time it hit theaters, no amount of marketing sparkle could mask the patchwork result. The fans felt it, critics tore it apart, and the negative buzz soared. Tensions were at an all-time high, and now heads were rolling. And what happened next would only pour fuel on the fire. Social media erupted in civil war. On one side, a legion of Rachel Zegler supporters insisted Disney was stifling a new generation's voice, punishing a woman for speaking her mind and trying to bring the fairy tale into the 21st century. On the other side, a massive wave of Disney loyalists and traditional fans slammed Zegler for disrespecting everything the 1937 classic represented. They called her reaction arrogant and accused her of overshadowing the film with her personal agenda. And then you had the Megyn Kelly faction, people who were tired of what they see as Hollywood's never-ending quest to reinvent old stories. For them, Kelly's scorching monologue was a breath of fresh air, exposing an industry they believe has lost touch with mainstream audiences. Feeds were ablaze with arguments, hashtags galore, and heated threads that roped in other big names, critics and celebrities who couldn't resist tossing in their 2 cents. But that was only scratching the surface. Many in the industry started recalling Rachel Zegler's track record of outspokenness. Her star began to rise with West Side Story, and from the get-go, she was known for fearless commentary on social or political issues. Some admired her courage, but others warned that this unapologetic boldness could one day clash with studio demands. According to certain whispers, that day finally arrived. Zegler's earlier remarks about Snow White's so-called archaic storyline, her critique of the classic princess narrative, and her desire to rework the entire message turned her into a polarizing figure. Disney had a dilemma: either fully commit to her bold reinterpretation or cling to the old formula that minted them billions. Sources suggest a compromise was attempted and failed spectacularly. By the time cameras wrapped, the film was an identity crisis on screen. Then, as critics pummeled the final cut, Zegler's stance hardened. She lashed out at naysayers, blasted nostalgia-blind viewers, and called for a reboot of how we see fairy tales. Disney, seeing the negative swirl, apparently made its move to part ways. And once Megyn Kelly pounced, the media-feeding frenzy turned unstoppable. Yet the drama didn't end there. As the fiasco reached a boiling point, eyes turned back on Megyn Kelly too. She's had her share of controversies, confrontations, and open spats with public figures. For critics, her fury at Zegler smacked of hypocrisy. A wealthy media figure demonizing a young actress for having an opinion. But Kelly's loyal base insists that she's the only one speaking the truth. If you disrespect a beloved property, if you talk down to fans, if you try too hard to push a radical reinterpretation, you pay the price. For Kelly, the box office disaster of Snow White wasn't an accident. It was an inevitable backlash against forced changes to a classic. Meanwhile, Hollywood watchers point to a deeper cultural divide that's turned the entertainment industry into a battlefield. Kelly's crusade isn't just about Rachel Zegler. Some say it's part of a larger pushback against perceived wokeness in Tinseltown, a clash that's been brewing for years. By calling out Disney's alleged mistakes in hiring Zegler, in the first place, Kelly tapped into a segment of the audience that's done with reboots, done with modern twists, and done with what they see as pandering. But the final piece of this puzzle was about to surface. New leaks imply more heads may roll at Disney in the wake of Snow White's monumental flop. Behind the scenes, it's full-on damage control. Executives are scrambling, insiders say, desperate to rewrite their next steps before investors start breathing down their necks. It's not just about one failed movie anymore. It's about the ripple effect that threatens to undermine the entire live-action remake strategy Disney's been milking for over a decade. Sources close to the situation are calling it a code red, with some even suggesting internal meetings have grown tense, with fingers pointed, voices raised, and long-standing power dynamics cracking under pressure. Studio heads are now being forced to re-examine everything: casting decisions, storytelling direction, promotional messaging, and especially how deeply they dive into politicized reinterpretations of beloved classics. Some say there's a legitimate fear that audiences no longer trust Disney to deliver the magic they grew up with. They don't want a lecture. One anonymous executive reportedly stated, they want enchantment. And clearly, Snow White didn't deliver. Early financial projections now forecast the fallout could stretch well beyond box office losses. Licensing partners are allegedly backing out, halting or downsizing planned merchandise rollouts. Think canceled toy lines, abandoned fast food collaborations, and stores quietly pulling products off shelves. That's not just a PR nightmare. It's a devastating financial blow. Tens of millions in revenue vaporized. And the worst part? It all appears to trace back to a project that many within the company privately admitted had been off from the start. And then there's Rachel Zegler. As the chaos swirls around, Disney, her name is becoming a cautionary tale whispered in studio corridors. Fairly or not, she's being labeled as a liability. A talented performer, yes, but one with a fiercely unfiltered voice that makes boardroom executives sweat. There are now rumors that at least 2 major studios have paused negotiations on future roles involving Zegler, not because of her talent, but because they don't want to risk another PR wildfire. Even talent agents are rumored to be quietly advising their clients to lay low and avoid associating too closely with the fallout. Megyn Kelly's blistering takedown of Zegler only adds fuel to the fire. In Kelly's world, this isn't about one movie. It's about what she calls a cultural reckoning. She's already weaponized the moment as a rallying cry for traditionalists who feel Hollywood's moral compass has gone completely off course. Her victory lap is loud, unapologetic, and getting traction in all the right circles. Pundits, podcast hosts, YouTube personalities, they're all parroting her talking points, creating a tidal wave of support from viewers who felt betrayed by Disney's choices. But here's the twist. Zegler's not backing down, not even a little. Her core fanbase sees her as a trailblazer, someone who isn't afraid to speak up even when it costs her. They argue that this backlash only proves how threatened the industry still is by young women who won't smile and nod through studio politics. To them, Zegler isn't a problem. She's a revolution, and the more she's dragged through the mud, the more defiant she becomes. There are whispers she may even be working on her own project to take back the narrative, potentially with backing from streaming platforms eager to tap into controversy-fueled attention. Meanwhile, the Snow White IP may be permanently damaged. That's not exaggeration. Industry analysts are already projecting that it will be years, if ever, before Disney attempts to reboot the story again. The brand, once synonymous with childhood wonder, now carries baggage. Parents are hesitant, nostalgic fans are furious, and Gen Z is largely indifferent. That's a death sentence in today's entertainment economy. No one wants to be the next headline, the next flop, the next PR disaster, and that fear is paralyzing. Where does that leave Megyn Kelly? Exactly where she wants to be. Center stage. She's carved out her lane in the cultural battlefield, and she's not stepping off it. Her fans see this entire mess as proof that the entertainment elite are finally being held accountable. She's made Zegler the poster child for what she claims is a deeper rot in Hollywood, and she's not letting go anytime soon. She's already teased more coverage, more commentary, and more exposés on the decisions that led Disney to this breaking point. But the aftermath of these controversies isn't just lingering, it's expanding. Like a slow-burning fuse, it's crawling into other studios, other projects, and other big names who have tried to flip the script on iconic tales. And with the financial damage racking up, egos bruised, and public trust eroding, one thing is terrifyingly clear. This isn't just about Snow White. This is a warning shot, a ticking bomb that might just blow up the future of modern reboots entirely. Yeah? The end, this whole scandal is bigger than one actress and one commentator. Rachel Zegler's fiery ouster from Disney is fueling a passionate debate about tradition, progress, and who gets to shape the fairy tales that define our culture. Megyn Kelly's searing critique is shining a harsh spotlight on Hollywood's internal tug-of-war over classics versus reboots. The catastrophic Snow White box office meltdown stands as an exclamation point in the middle of it all, reminding studios that audiences can and will vote with their wallets. Where does everyone go from here? Some say Zegler has torpedoed her mainstream prospects, while others argue this meltdown could catapult her into a different kind of fame, one anchored in controversy and fearless advocacy. As for Kelly, she's undoubtedly relishing her moment, having stoked a fire that's unlikely to burn out anytime soon. Questions remain about Disney's next move, potential cast reshuffles, and whether the brand can recover from the blow. One thing is for sure, the drama isn't over. In Hollywood, every tragic flop can spark a new wave of reinvention or reignite old grudges. After all, the fairy tale doesn't end once the curtain falls. Sometimes that's exactly when the real story begins.